So welcome to module 4. Fantastic, and many congratulations for completing first 3 modules. And I am confident and I'm sure that you are following what is instructed in your workbook, and you've reached here by completing all case studies and questions. So here we go deep into module 4, which is logical thinking. As you can see on your screen, logical thinking is a process which involves certain steps. In general, it involves checking the components of the argument and making connections between them, which is what we call reasoning. Broadly, the 4 steps involved into logical thinking is: number 1 is asking the right question. Very important. If you ask right questions, your first step is done. And then organizing the data. When I say organizing the data means based on what you asked, you will get certain information. Then you organize that information into a relevant and meaningful data. Evaluating the information, you evaluate what you have gathered and then drawing conclusions. Now, as I said, asking the right question, which is the first step in logical thinking, should begin with the understanding that the logical thinkers should begin reasoning by asking many questions. An important question to ask is, what are the premises? If we are confused about the premises, we may make mistakes further down the line in the logical process. We should distinguish between whether the statement is a fact or a value, what should or ought to be the case, and be alert to not confuse the two. Finally, we should check to see if any premise or vital information is missing. A key point to remember is that no conclusion can be made without premises. Organizing the data is the second step in the logical process. Once we know the premises, we can begin to organize the data. We can organize the information by making connections. An effective method of organizing data includes breaking up the information and diagramming or laying out the premises. Tree diagrams, if you have seen, are helpful because they graphically show the connections. Once you have organized the information, then your job as a logical thinker can proceed with evaluating it. Evaluating information involves determining whether the information is valid. Conclusions cannot be made until a distinction is made between truth and validity. So people often have trouble separating what is valid from what is true because of their ingrained beliefs. Belief bias occurs when an individual's belief system interferes with their ability to come to a logical conclusion. Confirmation bias is the tendency to use information to support the hypothesis about a problem. Yeah? So once the data has been collected, organized, and evaluated, we can then draw conclusions. Recall that in deductive reasoning, conclusions are inferred based on valid premises. In inductive reasoning, we use observations to draw conclusions or a hypothesis. Inference naturally flow from the evidence. In making inference, the logical thinker should be certain, not draw more or less than what is implied. Instead, infer only what the data implies. And also check to ensure inferences are consistent. And identify underlying assumptions. So, another case study before we conclude this module. Suppose you are a chemistry student in the lab and your group has is to mix chemicals until a color change occurs. In this case, you should see a pink color. You are given 4 beakers of colorless liquid labeled 1, 2, 3 and 4, and you are given a flask labeled X which contains a reagent which is an activating solution. The reagent is needed to cause the color change. Now my question to you is, how will you determine which combination of chemical will produce the required pink color? Interesting? So please solve this case study before you move to the next module. And also on page number 18 of your workbook, I have given an additional bonus case study for you. So once you solve these 2 case studies, please attempt 10 questions which we have given on page number 19 and 20 of your workbook. You will enjoy that once you conclude all those questions in these case studies, then go to the next module. Thank you.